Hey guys, this is Hero, and today I'm going to be discussing the transit of Venus through the sign of Sagittarius. So this transit lasts from the end of October to about the beginning to mid of December. Okay, the exact dates, if I remember properly, are October 30th to December 8th. Okay, now this is important. Why? Because Venus represents all the things that we want in life, but we don't need. Okay, so it has a lot to do with luxuries rather than necessities. So if you look at the signs Venus rules, it rules Taurus, and its Mutrikon sign is Libra. So Taurus represents like good perfumes, nice clothes, shoes, cars, food, stuff like that. Nice foods, okay? Nice houses, okay? It represents kind of all the things that we want, but we don't necessarily need as far as things. That's what Taurus represents. Libra represents all the things that we want, but not need as far as related to people, okay? So it represents like good companionship, casual relations and friendships with other people, enjoyment with all people in general. Okay, that's what Libra represents. Okay, now, so I explained Venus. Now, what does Sagittarius represent? Sagittarius represents kind of, in general, the energies of Sagittarius can signify the search of higher knowledge, okay, or the search of the absolute truth from a spiritual perspective, okay? And how do we kind of come to that conclusion? Well, we know that Scorpio, for example, represents kind of the gain of deep intuition within ourselves, okay? Now, after the Scorpio energies, after, we gain intuition within ourselves, we can move on to Sagittarius, which is, okay, after we have that intuition, after the kind of that spark is within us, then we can go ahead and search for the, higher truth and, kind of connect with that, use religion and philosophy and stuff like that to connect to that, higher consciousness, okay? But without that, intuition of Scorpio, it's kind of hard to utilize the energies of Sagittarius, okay? For example, if you take a kid and just try to force him to go to temple and he doesn't have that intuition within him, it's going to be very hard for him to kind of relate to what the scriptures are saying or what, the gurus there are saying and stuff like that. Okay, so that's just an example. So I'm just kind of saying that so you can kind of understand what Sagittarius means. Okay, so Sagittarius is connecting with that higher, understanding the values related to higher consciousness. Okay, that's what Sagittarius represents. Now, each planet also represents a different energy. So I just described what Venus represents. I'll take Jupiter for an example, okay? Now, you might be wondering, okay, everything you said sounds good as far as, Scorpio gaining intuition and Sagittarius, using that intuition to understand, the rules of how higher consciousness operates. Well, for example, Jupiter does very good in Scorpio and even better in Sagittarius, right? When Jupiter transits through, Jupiter represents the highest, literally represents our higher consciousness, our wisdom, stuff like that. So when it transits through Scorpio and Sagittarius, that higher consciousness within us is gaining intuition, and then that higher consciousness is understanding, the rules of, philosophies from great leaders, or what our religious books say and stuff like that. Jupiter wants to do these things. It's our higher consciousness. That's literally almost why it's here. Okay. So that's great. But however, when Venus does that, Venus represents our luxuries, okay? It doesn't necessarily represent, spiritual truths. So it's going to react to Sagittarius a little bit differently. But if you're able to understand the energies of Venus and you're able to understand the energies of Sagittarius, you'll kind of see how this all plays and how this will affect you and how you can learn from this to, go towards that spiritual truth a lot faster, okay? Because all the planets, Jupiter is our higher consciousness itself, but all the planets represent like different energies within us for this human birth. Okay, so they're all very important. Now, one thing I will tell you before I get into this transit a little bit deeper is that I'm not going to be describing some kind of crazy predictions. Okay, one, even if I wanted to do that, I have to look at your chart because the houses are very important, which I need the exact time of year of someone's birth. And two, when it comes to these crazy predictions, usually they have little to do with advancement in spirituality and stuff like that, which is kind of the goal for me when it comes to Jyotish. Okay, so Venus in Sagittarius. So I just described what Venus represents, and I just described what Sagittarius represents. So I'm going to describe what it can do generally, and then I'll break it down more specifically into parts. So in general, when it comes to like relations or like your enjoyment with people, or when it comes to like your enjoyment with like luxurious things, it'll kind of get you to question, okay, why am I doing these things? Okay, what is kind of the point of eating all this delicious food? Okay, what is the point of enjoying with all these people? Okay, it's not debilitated per se, because it gets debilitated in Virgo. Okay, Virgo is where Venus is forced to really analyze, okay, what good is any of this for me that I'm doing? But Sagittarius is, it's more the energies of, okay, these things that I'm trying to enjoy, when I'm enjoying them, how is this leading me to moksha? How is this leading me to understanding what Buddha was trying to say, or what some of these great rishis and sages who discovered all these kinds of religions are saying? Okay, so it'll kind of get you to question that overall in general. Now, this can be also a great tool to kind of detach from these things that we enjoy in our life and that we're so attached to. Okay, and so that's one thing. Now, another thing. So I just said Venus rules Taurus and Libra. Okay, now, why is this good? Because Venus and Sagittarius, like I said, it gets us to question the things that we're trying to enjoy, how they're leading us to spiritual fulfillment. Now, Rahu is in Taurus, and Libra has, I'll get into Libra in a second, okay? But as we know, the Libra is a little bit more complicated because it's Venus's Multikon, and there's changes that occur in Libra throughout its transit into Sagittarius, okay? But I'll start off with Taurus first. So Taurus, it just has Rahu sitting in it the whole time. Now, Rahu basically represents our the illusion, okay? So it represents basically we're craving more and more things related to Taurus and wherever Taurus sits in our chart, okay? So Venus in Sagittarius, it could represent, okay, like for example, if you've become like a very strong foodie over this year, I've noticed with a lot of people, like ever since Rahu goes into Taurus, especially during this year of 2021, like everyone's into cooking and stuff like that. Now we could blame that on the external, right? There's there's quarantine and stuff like that. But however, all of us who are into like Vedic astrology, we can have a little bit different opinions on why people are doing the things we're doing, okay? And one of the reasons why I think people are getting more into cooking and stuff is because Rahu's in Taurus, okay? Everyone's kind of focused on going out to eat, eating good foods, stuff like that. Okay, so Venus and Sagittarius, it could cause you to question, okay, yeah, I want all these foods, but how are these foods leading me to that spiritual truth, okay? Now, that doesn't mean that the energies of Rahu just go away, okay? You're still going to have that intense craving, but however, because it's there the whole time, but the whole transit of Venus into Sagittarius, the Rahu's going to be in Taurus the whole time. But however, it could have you question, all the foods that you're eating, okay? All the juicy, fatty foods, stuff like that. It will just cause you to question, okay? Which is good, because if you're trying to detach from them, this is the time to do it, okay? Because once Venus, after Venus goes into Capricorn, Capricorn is all about discipline, okay? So once you like I said, Scorpio is about gaining that intuition. Sagittarius is about understanding the higher knowledge, and Capricorn is all about, okay, after you understand that higher knowledge, be disciplined about them, okay? So this is a great time to just kind of understand why we're eating the foods we're eating. Yeah, we have that intense craving because Rahu's in Taurus, but we can at least gain an understanding of why we're eating them, and also why we shouldn't eat them, okay? So even though we might have that intense craving, afterwards, let's just say we eat some fast food that's bad for us, we may have more awareness of, wow, this is really affecting my body and my consciousness very negatively, and it's causing me to, really, hinder my, my spiritual progress, okay? My awareness just really goes down after I eat some kind of bad foods, okay? So that's Taurus. Now, the Libra is a little bit more complex in the fact that there's so many energies representing it, influencing it, and it's Venus's Multikon sign, okay? So, like I said, Taurus represents enjoyment related to all things. Libra represents enjoyment related to all people, okay? Now, So there's a split here, okay? So what do I mean by split? Up until about November 17th, Sun is in Libra, and Sun gets debilitated in Libra, okay? So that's one part of it. Now, once it moves out of Libra, obviously you can tell things will get a lot, quote unquote, better related to the energies of Libra, okay? Then two, a few days after that, November 20th, Jupiter moves into Aquarius. And when Jupiter moves into Aquarius, it throws a ninth aspect onto Libra, which is, quote unquote, better. So those are kind of the two halves I'm gonna explain, okay? So one, the first half. Also, another thing, Mars is in Libra the whole time that Venus is in Sagittarius, and Saturn throws its 10th aspect from Capricorn to Libra the whole time Venus is in Sagittarius too, okay? Just two things to keep in mind. So first of all, up until November 17th, one, like I said, Mars is in Libra and Sun is in Libra, and Sun is debilitated. They're both fiery hot planets, okay? Now, also about November, okay, I'll just start off with those two, okay? So what that could mean is that, okay, so like I said in my Sun and Libra transit video, you could have higher expectations and frustrations related to those expectations related to other people, okay? However, because Venus is in Sagittarius, those frustrations and those, endless expectations the ego has of other people, you'll be more aware of them, much more aware of them when Venus is in Sagittarius. In awareness in one sense, okay, you will see that, okay, these expectations of other people, how are they getting me to spiritual fulfillment? Now, they aren't just going to go away, right? You're going to have these expectations, but you're going to question, okay, if this person does this thing for me, I have these expectations and I'm getting frustrated when they're not doing it. Even if they were to do it, or even if they were to fulfill my expectations, how is that gaining me towards the truth? Okay. And I'd encourage you to connect with that energy more and more, because what will happen is, as you connect with that Sagittarius energies that Venus is going to connect to, your frustrations and your expectations that Mars and that Sun throw onto Libra, you're not feeding those energies as much. Okay, we all have free will. Yeah, there's destiny involved because the transits we can't control, but we all have free will as far as what we're putting our energies into, and what we put our energies into is what eventually ends up kind of quote unquote manifesting. I know that term manifesting is thrown around all over the place, and it's commonly misinterpreted, and there's a lot of there's a lot of exaggeration and untruth related to that word, but that word is applicable to a certain extent from what the general understanding is. Okay, I'll get into more manifesting in another video, but yeah. So we can connect with those Sagittarius energies more, and so that we kind of disconnect from that Mars and Sun in Libra. We're not feeding those energies as much. Okay. Now, Mercury enters Libra into about November 3rd, and there's a new moon a couple days after that. Okay. So those Libra energies could be intensified a lot during that week. Okay. Like basically 1 week from now. Now, what's the game plan here? So, when Moon and Mercury enter Libra also, your Moon and your intelligence is also right there. So that's 4 planets in Libra, which is a lot, right? So what that could mean is that you basically, Mercury they all represent different things, all the combinations of all the things. So when Mercury is there, you could want to really watch your speech during that time, okay? Don't make any crazy decisions when it comes to other people. I would encourage you not to make any big promises and stuff like that, because you could be making it with kind of a very temporary but very afflicted mindset. I would recommend. Okay, so don't do that. Don't make any promises, because like I said, your ego is there, so your ego is gonna kind of want to search for validation from other people. So that's another reason why you might want to make some kind of big promises or something like that could come down to haunt you later. Also, Saturn throws its 10th aspect onto Libra, okay? Which means that there's certain karma related to other people that you need to fulfill, okay? Now, it's very important that you are able to identify the karma that you need to fulfill versus the garbage that you want to do, okay? The garbage the ego wants you to do, okay? Now, that Saturn is a very powerful aspect, okay? And like I said, Venus is in Sagittarius. So you'll be able to question whenever you do like something that, you know, is not very spiritual fulfilling, or when it comes to other people, that, oh, why am I doing that? Your Saturn is throwing that aspect there in the sense of that you need to fulfill certain stuff. When you do those, your Venus, because it's in Sagittarius, will be able to recognize more strongly that, oh wow, like that was really something that I was meant to do, or that, you know, it aligns with some spiritual truth either deep inside me or something in some scripture that, you know, that you know, kind of activated my higher consciousness more. Okay, so your Venus in Sagittarius will kind of amplify that Saturn's 10th aspect on the Libra if used properly. Okay, so up until November 17th, and the kind of the peak spot is around that November 5th date, where that new moon is there and that Mercury enters Libra. Don't make any decisions related to other people, like big decisions or big promises or something like that. And also, just really watch. I would encourage you to do whatever you need to do with other people, and don't do whatever you don't need to do with other people. And if you do what you're not supposed to do, you'll be able to become much more aware of them. And when that happens, you can kind of analyze, okay, how did your ego trick you, and how we can avoid going down that trap again. Okay, and when you do something that you're supposed to do, for example, that Saturn aspect on that Saturn 10th aspect on the Libra, we can understand, okay, when I did do something that I needed to do, yeah, this was exactly on point. You'll be able to receive those energies more prominently. Okay, now around November 17th, the sun moves out of Libra. Okay, so what that means is that the ego's out of there. Okay, so Mars is still there, so that frustration will still be there as far as other people. But as far as that ego dependency and that ego neediness to kind of receive from other people, that need is not there as much. Okay, which is good, because a few days later, Jupiter goes into Aquarius and it aspects Libra. Okay, and so now when that shift happens, I just said, that neediness to depend on other people for validation or happiness or expectations goes away. Yeah, there'll still be frustrations when you interact with people, but you'll be able to detach from them a lot more because the ego is no longer involved. Okay, now also Venus, like I said, up until November 17th, Venus is in Mula, okay, which is ruled by Ketu. So whenever that ego is trying to get you to do things that you really shouldn't do as far as high fulfillment, you'll be able to recognize a lot quicker, because Venus is in Mula also. Okay, it's not just in any nakshatra, it's in Mula. Now, when Sun moves out of Libra and Jupiter moves into Aquarius, throwing its 9th aspect on the Libra, Venus at the same time, I believe, moves into Purvashada. Okay, around that same time. I'm not sure what's the order of it, but it's all within like a few days time span difference. So when that happens, a couple things happen. So one, that neediness is not there on other people anymore. Two, Jupiter throws its 9th aspect onto on the Libra. So what that means, Jupiter is the natural karaka when it comes to higher consciousness and stuff like that. So Mars is still there. So when it comes to that frustration related to other people, yeah, that Saturn aspect is still there, in the sense that you'll be able to kind of identify things that you need to do. And the Jupiter aspect is there in the sense that, okay, yeah, I have these frustrations, but see, when Venus is in Sagittarius, just that alone, it'll make it so that, okay, after you kind of do something that you're not supposed to do, it'll kind of have you reflect afterwards and be like, oh man, that really wasn't, you know, the move here. But when Jupiter is throwing its aspect on the Libra, it'll kind of have you thinking 2 or 3 times before you actually do something crazy, okay? Because Mars is in Libra and Mercury is still in Libra for a little while too. I'm not sure when it moves out. I think it gets out of Libra before Venus leaves Sagittarius. But Mercury is, I think is still there before. Mercury is still there while Jupiter moves into Aquarius and aspects Libra. Okay, so when that happens, before you're about to get frustrated at people, and especially with your speech, because Mercury and Mars are kind of somewhat close, you'll understand that higher consciousness before and be like, oh, okay, you know, before I say something crazy, you know, what are kind of the results that are going to come here? Okay, and because that Saturn aspect is there, anything that you need to do, you'll still be able to do calmly because that Jupiter aspect is there as well. Okay, you won't kind of get frustrated at the things that you need to do as much. Okay, so that's that. And then also the second half, when Jupiter is in Aquarius and throws its aspect at Libra, and after Sun leaves Libra around after that November 17th, 20ish day, Venus at the same time, it moves into Purvashada, okay, which is Venus's own nakshatra. So when it comes to the Elise Mula, so when it comes to kind of your interactions with people, you'll be able to enjoy them more fully. Okay, so yeah, that Jupiter aspect is still there, so that awareness is still there, especially before you do something that you shouldn't do. But as far as from an enjoyment standpoint, as far as enjoying with other people, you'll be able to enjoy more. Okay, you'll be able to appreciate your relations more. But it's still in Sagittarius, right? So you'll be able to reflect more on the positive side of your relationships. Okay, this would also be a great time to be appreciative and grateful of the relationships you do have. Okay, so I think this video has already kind of gone long enough. Hope this kind of gave you a nice insight on what the Venus in the Sagittarius transit would do. And one thing I want to touch on, just really quickly, Venus in Purvashada, yeah, Rahu's still in Taurus, so this could when Venus moves in the Purvashada, yeah, I touch on the fact that you're going to be more grateful and appreciative in regards to relations, but it could also make you grateful and appreciative as far as, you know, the luxuries you do have in life. Okay, so you as far as like your car, your foods you have, stuff like that, everything related to Taurus, also you'll become a lot more appreciative. Okay, during that second half up until December 8th. Okay, so that's Venus and Sagittarius. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any questions or comments, let me know. Till next time, see you guys later. Thank you.